Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to welcome you to the most sensational, most influential urban conservative show in Washington, D.C., or Tampa, or any other place in the world. Yours truly, the exception one, is live. The King of 9 p.m. is on. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican, and then the Socialist. Ladies and gentlemen, I reiterate that I am reporting to you live from Tampa Bay at the Intercontinental Ambassador Suites, here for a very special conference on mortgages. Stay tuned. After this moment of silence for the great people of Paris, we're going to get down and dirty with a president who doesn't believe in American leadership or American winning. Ladies and gentlemen, for the 130 people who perished over the weekend in the country of France, the city of Paris, our hearts and our minds and our souls go out to you in this particular moment. We extend to the good people who have placed their faith in government and governmental leaders and are sadly disappointed. We revere life itself, and we honor you. A moment of silence. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, President Obama was late for that one too. Let's begin our show as we begin every show.
Buenas tardes, niños. This is Spanish with Señora Cabrera. Today we will learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. In English, we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now in Spanish we say, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Muy bien. Practice your Pledge of Allegiance, and the more you practice, the faster you will memorize. I will see you later.
And I will see you now. Good evening, live from the great city of Tampa, Florida, that is, home of the Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush debate. Pick between them. There's no real difference. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad to be here. I want to thank also...
Good morning, students. As promised, I am going to say the Pledge of Allegiance for you.
Okay.
And I'm going to say it in Spanish. I need to remember that you may...
You know what? I think I'm going to hold on to that one and play that in the second half. Oh, what a great show we have for you. Today we want to talk with you about what your mortgage has to do with ISIS. I know a lot of people are quizzed about that particular subject matter. And in the 10 o'clock hour, we'll be contacting Lonnie Poindexter, the Poindexterin. Will be joining us at 10:05, and we will be talking about faith, family, and Obama folly. You got to have the three. They all mix and come together so easily. Hopefully everybody can see. Over my shoulder, if for those of you who are watching via live stream, and I know Mrs. Biggs is, love you, thank you, miss you, and also live stream. For those who will see later, if you look over my shoulder, one way or the other, you'll see that I'm inside the Intercontinental Hotel in Tampa. Is within the confines of an urban center. And so actually beyond here are office buildings. So right across from me, right across from me, believe it or not, are offices. And when I came in on Sunday, and I opened up the window, because I came in the afternoon, got here early, I wanted to sit down and watch a little football, because I don't get a chance to do that too often. I opened up the windows, and by golly, wow, there it is. People were holding business meetings on the opposite side of me. So I'm glad to see that business is up and running in the great city of Tampa. Oh, Mary Brockman, my bouncers in the chat room. Love you. Glad to have you here. Dave Milner, who is the underground. Forgive me, the unpleasant blind guy. Unpleasant blind guy. I spent the weekend talking with the underground professor, so forgive me. Thanks, Dave. It is kind of flashy. You know what I'm saying? I want to do a little something different. Show you all the measure of how God's enlarging me, per se. Here for a training session, as I am a counselor, and I deal with financial matters, and specifically one of the financial matters that I deal with happens to be mortgages for people. And when people are going through a tough time with their mortgages, I'm there to chime in and to help and to lead and to guide them through the parameters of the legal, the financial, and the tax issues that they endure as they try to get back on the right track and the right framework for being homeowners. And so we always have to educate ourselves, always have to extend ourselves and be better than we were the day before. So that's what I'm working on down here. Thank you. Dave's let me know that the Bengals have 3 points over the Texans. So that's good. That's good stuff right there. It's good stuff. Not that I'm against the Houston Texans, but I like Cincinnati. Just because Mary's in Ohio, and so I have to lean that way whenever there's a game. How disconcerting this weekend has been, or at least these past 72 hours. I want to start off with this right here. And I kind of feel it's breaking news for those people who are following me at home out of Washington, D.C., especially on the download, because I have a great angst. Kel's in the chat room. Love you, Kel. I got to pause here and say this. Love you, Kel. If I don't do that, then I would be sorely mournful. But before we go to the 9-10 break and play my favorite commercials, and I'm sorry, I don't have the soldiers, stocking soldiers info from Delaware, but I believe it's 1911 Folk, F-O-U-L-K Road in Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware, I believe. Definitely get in contact with them and help our soldiers get the things that they need, gifts and remembrances for this particular time of season. I want to play this going into the break because I won't have time to come back and talk with you, but For the good people in Washington, D.C. who are Black Lives Matters down, and I will have an essay coming out later on this week against those in the faith community who endear themselves to Black Lives Matter. And I debated someone on Saturday from Black Lives Matter regarding public safety and whipped his gluteus maximus, calling himself a preacher. So I bring all comers. Can y'all see me on camera here? Bring all comers. I'm ready for you. I have no problems. I got nothing else to live for. I'm ready to tear you down. But for the good people of Washington, D.C., and I'm praying for my wife back home, there are threats by ISIS that the next place will not be, well, the next 3 places will be London, New York, and Washington. Let me play this for you and we'll be back.
In a new video, ISIS appeared to threaten an attack on Washington, D.C., and any country launching strikes on Syria. The video appeared on ISIS propaganda sites. It starts with news coverage of the Paris attacks, and then it cuts to a man in a turban, identified as Al-Gharib, the Algerian, warning countries that band together against Syria after the France massacre. But the man never mentions a specific target in America's capital. He also warns of more attacks to come in Europe, telling countries there they will be unable to stop us because today we are much stronger than before. The authenticity of the video has not been independently verified. The FBI and Washington police did not immediately return requests for comment. The clip comes the day after France launched a series of airstrikes on Raqqa, ISIS capital in Syria, retaliating for the onslaught of shootings and bombings that devastated the French capital Friday.
We take the Daily News Bites, Daily News for that particular news bite. We'll be back.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We're using fresh Italian sausage, and we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is an in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and free. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as the mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Fish is ready and our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused meat burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce.
Yeah.
We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I took my wife out Friday night. I knew I was coming to Tampa this weekend, and I just needed to let her know that I love her. I gave her some flowers. I wanted her to relax and enjoy herself, and we've been praying for her health, and I ask you all to continue, I ask you all to continue praying for her and her well-being and her health And quite frankly, I wanted to relax with her. I wanted to enjoy her company before I left for Tampa, and that was right before I had my debate with the Black Lives Matter preacher who I cut up left and right. But had the opportunity of sitting down with Derek Williams and his wife, Christina. They're just, and Christina served us, and that is just the most honorable thing. It was just a wonderful experience. The bird. Oh, you all have to scroll down on my Facebook page to see the expression on my face when I ate that burger. Oh my God, that burger is so gorgeous. But there are a multitude of choices on their menu. My wife got the salmon and the rice, and it was something else. It was a girly kind of plate, but I got the double bacon burger. You know what I'm saying? They should name that burger. They should name it the exceptional one. That's it. The double bacon burger should be called the exceptional one. And just had the most wonderful time there. They're the greatest people. Derek and Christina Williams, who are co-owners with that particular restaurant, Infuse, and I pray that someday there will be an Infuse in Tampa, there will be an Infuse in Charleston, there will be an Infuse in Atlanta, New York, Dallas, Chicago, LA, Scottsdale. I just pray that they have great success because the food is just awesome. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. That's 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. Their telephone number is 301-449-9000. It's a good time right now. If you wanted to order your burger, go pick it up and come back for the second half of this particular illustrious program. Or you can go to infuse.com to find out more information about them, infuse.com. And again, I want to tell you all, do me the grandest favor, make certain that you all support Stockings for Soldiers, incorporated out of Delaware, and make a donation to them. You can get in contact with Rick Trader from Conservative Commandos, and he'll provide you greater details regarding that, or just wait for me to get back in Washington so I can read it to you. But this is the time of the year to get those particular things done. I want you to hear tonight, I know some of you already have because you are so in to this kind of thing, but I want you to hear why over 25 governors, and I just got a message from Liz Loris, the beautiful and brilliant Liz Loris, who is asking people to call their governors in the state of Washington at 360-902-4111. That number again, 360-902-4111. The governor of Oregon, 503-378-4582. 503-378-4582. The governor of Idaho, 208-334-2100. 208-334-2100. California, 916-445-2841. 916-445-2841. And Colorado, 916-445-28. Well, I think that's the same number. Maybe we'll get a new number for Colorado. She must have been in a hurry. But Elizabeth Loris is telling everyone, call those particular state governors, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Colorado, because they've come out and stated that they will take Syrian refugees. We know that one Syrian refugee was responsible for what happened in Paris over the weekend. We know that 10,000 have been imported through Louisiana. Governor Jindal does not have a response in terms of knowing exactly what's happening with them. He's trying to get to the bottom of that. But join the other 25 states of the Union. There are 25 states of the Union, including Massachusetts, including, in fact, Illinois, Alabama, not Georgia yet, Mississippi, Florida, And many of them, Florida, where I am right now, the governors have come out and said we do not. Greg Abbott from Texas have come out and said we are not going to take a Syrian refugee. We're just not going to do it because you can't vet them. The Department of Homeland Security has come out and advised that they can't possibly vet each and every one of them. The FBI says it's impossible to vet any of them because most of them don't even have records at this point. I mean, government records where? Where do you get these government records from? How can you verify that this person is that person? We're talking about people who start afresh and with a clean slate, given a passport, and can travel the world and do dastardly things. So it's just not feasible, realistically, for people. And for people who say, well, remember they used to pass through Liberty Island in New York, Ellis Island, they used to pass through there and they had to prove, no. They had to prove who they were before they got on the boat to get to Ellis Island. And when they got to Ellis Island, they still had to prove that they were who they were. And if they didn't have the right health conditions, if they didn't have the right paperwork, they either stayed on Ellis Island or were sent back. So when we have a president who's not interested in American winning or American leadership, we can earnestly understand why Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, can say, watching a meeting between the Turkish President Erdogan and the president that was made up at the last minute, he can earnestly say under his breath, and this is quoted, and I'll give you that particular link in a few, he's a child. He's a child. This is a man running the United States, and it's the most powerful man in the world, who Vladimir Putin looks at and says, he's a child. He's a child.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to make a few brief comments about the attacks across Paris tonight. Once again, we've seen an outrageous attempt to terrorize innocent civilians. This is an attack not just on Paris, it's an attack not just on the people of France, but this is an attack on all of humanity and the universal values that we share. We stand prepared and ready to provide whatever assistance that the government and the people of France need to respond. France is our oldest ally. The French people have stood shoulder to shoulder with the United States time and again. And we want to be very clear that we stand together with them in the fight against terrorism and extremism. Paris itself represents the timeless values of human progress. Those who think that they can terrorize the people of France or the values that they stand for are wrong. The American people draw strength from the French people's commitment to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We are reminded in this time of tragedy that the bonds of liberté, égalité, fraternité are not only values that the French people care so deeply about, but they are values that we share. And those values are going to endure far beyond any...
Forgive me for a moment. I know he's the President of the United States, and I don't really want to color code his comments. But when he was speaking there just a few moments ago, let me just take that back just a few moments ago. I want y'all to think of South Park. Okay? Just think of South Park for a moment. Here we go.
The values that the French people care so deeply about, but they are values that we share. And those values are going to endure far beyond any act of terrorism or the hateful vision of those who perpetrated.
Hold on one second. I need to go back just a little bit for a minute.
Happiness. We are reminded in this time of tragedy that the bonds of liberté, égalité, fraternité.
There you go. There you go. Liberté, fraternité, égalité, properté, sodomie. Come on, man. Come on. Not everything in French that ends with an A. I'm just
not only values that the French people care so deeply about, but they are values that we share. And those values are going to endure far beyond any act of terrorism or the hateful vision of those who perpetrated the crimes this evening. We're going to do whatever it takes to work with the French people and with nations around the world to bring these terrorists to justice and to go after any terrorist networks that go after our people. We don't yet know all the details of what has happened. We have been in contact with French officials to communicate our deepest condolences to the families of those who've been killed, to offer our prayers and thoughts to those who've been wounded. We have offered our full support to them. The situation is still unfolding. I've chosen not to call President Hollande at this time because my expectation is that he's very busy at the moment. I actually, by coincidence, was talking to him earlier today in preparation for the G20 meeting. But I am confident that I'll be in direct communication with him in the next few days, and we'll be coordinating in any ways that they think are helpful in the investigation of what's happened. This is a heartbreaking situation, and obviously those of us here in the United States know what it's like. We've gone through these kinds of episodes ourselves, and whenever these kinds of attacks happened, we've always been able to count on the French people to stand with us. They have been an extraordinary counterterrorism partner, and we intend to be there with them in that same fashion. I'm sure that in the days ahead we'll learn more about exactly what happened, and my teams will make sure that we are in communication with the press to provide you accurate information. I don't want to speculate at this point.
No, of course not. No.
Who's responsible for this?
No.
It appears that there may still be live activity and dangers that are taking place as we speak.
Yeah, exactly.
So until we know from French officials that the situation's under control and we have more information about it, I don't want to speculate. Okay? Thank you very much.
There you go. A man who is able to hold the cards very close to his vest, unless, of course, those cards have to deal with stupid police, Trayvon Martin, Black Lives Matter, global warming, and Republicans. Other than that, cards are held very close to the chest. I want you all to understand that this particular president does not see America as a good place. In fact, America pains him. It pains him to be president of the United States of America. You have to be, some people would say that he is delusional. And if some of you all have watched Bill O'Reilly earlier tonight, you saw him make the assertions that were followed up latter by none other than the good doctor of psychiatry himself. What is that guy's name? Krauthammer. Yeah. And somehow the assertion here, and let me just make this here. I'm going to put this in here. They settled on delusional. Because I suppose that you cannot say anything more controversial than delusion. Somehow delusional, the adjective, is an acceptable term. Delusion is the act of misleading someone. I mean, you can't call someone an outright liar, can you? Certainly, if he's president of the United States, you don't want to call him a liar. No, we have to use a different term with a certain nuance. Say, je ne sais quoi, maybe, since we're dealing with French. Delusion is a noun that can be made into an adjective when you add a L to it, and basically means the act of misleading someone. It is a form of mental derangement. Okay? In the Latin, delusionum, delusio, also refers to a deceiving. Now, we talked last week all about character. All about character. And somehow, The character trait that they refer to, or at least the flaw to the character trait that they want to judge here, is that the President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, is delusional, meaning that he has fits of deception, that he has a mental flaw that desires to lie about certain things. Well, we can't say lie, but he likes to mislead someone. Kind of like when you're Secretary of State and you mislead Americans into believing that a video was the causation for the killing and assassination of an ambassador. While you tell your family that no, those are terrorists, man. They killed their brother. So, you would have to be somewhat delusional, a deceiver. And we know that the character trait, as we studied last week when we talked about character, the actual symbol, the mark. People talk about the mark of the beast, but a symbolism, a marking to an individual's character is considered a flaw per se. And in character, there is a marking of the quality of the individual. It can be seen on that person. So when we look at the term technically delusional, delusional is a belief that, though false, has been surrendered to and accepted by the whole mind as a truth. It's kind of like Black Lives Matter telling you that it's wrong to arrest black men who kill people because police officers have done evil to some black people. You get my drift there? You're delusional. Okay? You're very delusional. Illusion is an impression that, though false, is entertained provisionally on the recommendation of the senses or the imagination. Remember, we talked about ideology before, and the ideology is built on the whole idealism of what you feel. Remember, you can march through Dartmouth Library where students are attempting to prepare for their midterm examinations and yell Black Lives Matter. And when asked, what exactly are you demanding, they cannot give a response or an answer to. It's just that they are against discrimination. Well, you were not blindly against discrimination because you didn't mind discriminating against all those people who went into the library to study, and you actually disturbed them. The term delusion is also part of a phrase which is well noted amongst many people. Delusions of grandeur. Now, there are those who march today that are waiting for the parade. They have their boots on. They are strapped up. They are ready to go. And they go outside and there's no parade. And so what they will do is they will pick up a stick and say that it is a baton and that they are going to lead that parade. And that somehow thousands of people will come behind them with elephants and saxophones and xylophones and tubas and all kinds of musical instruments, and there will be a great band behind them and marching and everything because they have delusions of grandeur. Let me put it this way when it comes to the frozen concept of ideology, that your feelings matter more, that global warming is a greater threat to the world than 8 terrorists who are blowing up the whole city in the presence of the President Hollande of France. Yeah, I bet you called this weekend to find out how the president was doing. And by the way, are you going to still hold that climate change conference next week, sir? I just want to know. I know a lot's going on, but I want to be there for that. President Obama has delusions of grandeur. Yes, he does have those. He's deceived himself into thinking that he is the grand answer for solving the crisis in Iran, the crisis in the Middle East, the crisis with ISIS, simply by not leading. You see, what a great desire we would have for a commander-in-chief to join forces with President Hollande and fire away and blow the bits out of places like Syria, Iraq, and Iran, and any other thing that comes its way. But you see, your president thinks of himself as someone who can aid in the conquest of Levant. Levant? What are you talking about, Levant? Levant is a term meant for the Mediterranean nations that surround the Middle East. And we can only think of one in which he has a great angst towards and would love to see fall. In fact, kind of commonplace with the enemy that he wishes not to defeat. When we come back, I want to talk with you about nefariousness and that our president is not delusional. He's nefarious. And as such, you should be quite concerned as an American tonight. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Tampa Bay tonight on SHR Media. Also, Pundit Press Media, Rebooting Liberty, and the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We'll be right back with more of the best in urban conservative talk.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm walking through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage, and we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and free. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Fish is ready and our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused meat burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and then cook on it to the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not enough to tell you how good it really is. You just have to experience for yourself. And baby, I'm going to tell you, the only way that you can experience this kind of pleasure is definitely going to Infused Restaurant.
My name is Christopher Arnold.
Thank you, Chris. Make sure that you make your way to Christopher Arnold's restaurant, Infused Restaurant and Lounge HD. My wife and I went this weekend. We really had a great time. And you can do so at, what's the name of that place here? What? Oh, okay, here we go. All right. You're going to indulge. We're going to, okay, yeah, okay, all right. We're going to do all of that. And there we go. Okay, thank you very much. All right, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland 20748. Infuse.com. You can call them at 301-449-9000. There's still time to get your burger. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back after this, I want to talk with you about what really is going on with America and its leadership, and how dangerous a situation we're in.
Right. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe,
right swipe.
That kind of looks like my sister.
It does.
But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten.
My God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh!
She's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop.
Oh, that is not a lollipop.
Left swipe.
Left swipe.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, and I'm my type. If you're gone in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe. Bye-bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left.
This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta left swipe that.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag complex. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Home 9, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. Hottie! Just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type,
And I'm my type.
if you're gone in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe. Bye-bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left.
This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta left swipe that.
Mr. Road Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all offensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10s to 2s. And one thing's true about your whole crew. None of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with the tiger?
Left swipe that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Left swipe that.
Smoking while acting healthy.
Left swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Left swipe that.
Smoking with a duck face.
Left swipe that.
At a monster truck race?
Left swipe that.
Smoking at the prom.
Left swipe that.
Even in a photo bomb?
He don't care. Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah. Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
Isn't that sad? Never. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Exceptional Consider Show live from Tampa Bay tonight, Tampa Bay, Florida. We surely the exceptional one is imparting some knowledge and well-being unto you. Glad that you have joined us for this live occasion. We will be live all this week from Tampa. And I am just ever so grateful for the fact that you just bear with me. I'm outside of my underground studio, as the underground professor would say. And I'm out of the uptown theater down here in Tampa Bay. So glad to be a part. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much going on in the world, even as I speak. But I want to tell you. Well, actually, I don't know if I should tell. Well, I know where I need to go right here. This is in the Federalist.com. TheFederalist.com. It is written for November 16th, 2015, and it's written by the Federalist staff. The title of it is Obama on his ISIS strategy. And the reason why I did this, I wanted to know exactly. There's so many of us who are against something. I wanted to know what somebody was for. But I never actually heard or understood what the ISIS strategy was, beyond the fact of trying to, quote-unquote, contain them. So, what the heck is contain? You contain soda, you contain water, you contain paint. You don't contain jihadists. I don't. We'll get into that a little bit later on, probably about the second half of tonight's show. There is so much to talk about. But in the Federalist.com, the article is Obama on his ISIS strategy. I'm not interested in American leadership or America winning. That is what he said. Okay, so really a lot of people were thrown asunder on his press conference after or at the G20. They had never seen a president of the United States so glib, so arrogant, and so ignorant at the same time. And these are actual off the remark. These are comments by individuals who were watching and listening to him. You contain bullcrap. Thank you, Mary. You do. You put it's manure. You put it in a bag, and it's contained. But literally, in that press conference, and this is on the edge of Vladimir Putin making his comments before the G20 that he's a child. He's a child. It's kind of like, I don't know if the despots at the UN understand that we, the American people, put a imbecile behind the wheel of the car and expected him to drive it with the competency of someone who had years of experience and no accidents. And let me just say this. The expectation that nothing in the world will happen at any one time is completely disingenuous. That stuff is going to happen around the world. It just is. Stuff is going to happen here. But you know that and you plan for it. I have never heard the Obama-ISIS strategy. I've never heard it beyond the fact that we are containing them and that they are a JV group. And Kobe Bryant's shirt on him wouldn't do well, and that was the essence of what I heard. And then he made his remarks at the G20, and it just threw people as they were glossed. How did he get to be leader of the free world? I mean, was there a lottery or something? Could I have bought a ticket? He said. And this is a quote for the Federalist staff. During a press conference detailing his administration's strategy to destroy ISIS following several devastating terrorist attacks in Paris, President Barack Obama said he's not interested in pursuing some notion of American leadership or America winning. Now, Obama's remarks came several days after ISIS attacked Paris, killing over 120 people and injuring scores of others. And actually, not since World War II has there been such a brutal brigade of terrorism. I mean, think about that. Our World War II generation witnessed this. And now you have the president of the free world who is more attuned with releasing prisoners from state penitentiaries and Gitmo than he is with actually fighting terrorism. And he's saying that he is not interested in America winning. You see, America isn't put first in his mindset. Hugh Hewitt made this tweet. He said, "What I'm not interested in doing is posing or pursuing some notion of American leadership or American winning." POTUS? Yeah. Throughout Monday's press conference, Obama insisted that his strategy for defeating ISIS was working and did not need to change. Now, I'm going to let you all know something. I work very hard, and I rarely get up more than about 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. Not since I came down here to Tampa. Had a couple more hours of sleep last night, so I'm very well rested. I've been fighting many campaigns. Not just my show, the conservative movement, the Open Heart Closed Case campaign up in Washington, D.C. and around the world now as we're expanding. And so I can earnestly tell you, in all the things that I do, in housing counseling as well, there's never a time where I think to myself I'm absolutely perfect. That there is nothing that I can't change. Now, there's some characteristics of my character that can't change if they're tied to Christ, but certainly there's certain things about the processes that I do or the performance that I have. Those things can change, even the personnel that I work with. But there's certain principles that need to be in place. And apparently, this particular president doesn't seem to have more principles in place for himself than to understand that there is some tweaking that needs to be done with a strategy that the rest of the world doesn't know about. Some of you might be asking, why am I so mild today? It's not because I had a great deal of rest. I'm in a hotel, so I can't yell the way I would in my house, my studio. But I go back, I digress back to the Federalist story. It says, what I'm not interested in doing is posing or pursuing some notion of American leadership or American winning or whatever other slogans they come up with that has no relationship to what is actually going to work to protect the American people and to protect the people in this region who are getting killed and to protect our allies and people like France. Obama said, I'm too busy for that. Now, I'm just wondering, and you hear this all the time when you're talking with liberals and Democrats or whatever, what happened from moving from the slogan that's built on the principles of the Constitution itself and the premise that we are an exceptional nation, not because of anything we did, but because of divine providence itself, and that we exude the principles of divinity to the rest of the world beyond the confines and flaws of humanity. How is it not that you don't want America to win? How do you switch from that question about you defined it as sloganeering, President, but there are principles based in that we put America first and our allies with us, and our allies including Israel, so we won't use the term Levant. We'll get into that in a few moments, but how is it protecting the American people and our allies when France just experienced the greatest terrorism they have had since World War II? And you might want to go back in your annals of history. We're talking anywhere from 1938 to 1945. We're talking over 70 years have passed, and they have not had such death and destruction. And this is on the heels of Charlie Hebdo, 12 in January. And so, is it that you're too busy for the sloganeering based on principles, or are you just too busy to understand that what you're trying isn't working and you're too arrogant to admit that it doesn't work? Well, what exactly is the Obama strategy? Some of you all might be asking. The term that was used was to contain. The Obama administration's ISIS strategy is built on the foundation of containing. Now, that goes back to the delusional comment earlier, but and we're going to talk about nefarious as well, but I want you to understand something about contain. Just like people who say we can coexist, faith with a religion of evil can coexist. And Jesus clearly stated that darkness and light can't share the same spot. That wasn't physics, that was just common sense and a divine enlightenment that darkness hides when light is present. They just don't, they can't coexist. They can't. Not in the same place. Not if you're pursuing vitally different interests. You can't have good and evil working together for you. Unless you're God, of course, and it works for the good, because good always wins. But you can't tell me that you want to contain evil. First and foremost, to say that you can contain evil says that you don't understand evil. Evil's objective is much like water. Water will run to the spot or attempt to escape from a spot so that it may roll, that it may always move. That's what water does. And unless you can place it in a voluminous object with a certain capping upon it, the I Dream of Jeannie come to mind. Unless you can do something like that, you cannot contain water. or gas or any other liquid. Even mercury needs a metal or at least a glass container to keep its space. Containing something requires, if we look at the Latin contenere, it means to hold together, to enclose. So when you tell me that you wish to hold together ISIS, and then tell me that that is your strategy for eliminating it by holding it together, there is something delusional about that, but not delusional in the sense that you're deceiving me. It's delusional to you. Somehow you don't understand physics. Somehow you don't understand geography. You don't understand universal laws of divinity. You don't understand science. You can't contain evil because it pursues something that's completely opposite from good. What destroys the argument is that even God told the people of Israel that you cannot contain your 7 enemies, for they will not leave you alone. Your enemies are what they are. They are your enemies. It's their joy. It's what they wake up for. It's kind of like asking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to wake up one morning and not play basketball. It's kind of like asking Suge Knight to wake up and not try to kill somebody. You know, it's in your nature. So how is it that you believe that you can actually contain ISIS, and exactly where you wish to contain them, I have no idea, because everyone seems to understand that terrorism, like water, spreads very evenly. You were trying to contain them in Syria? Wasn't that part of the ISIS campaign to begin with? The Islamic State of let's see, ISIS, the Islamic State of Islamic States, I don't know, but it is an ISIL. The Levant. Containing means that you are trying to hold together, that you're trying to fasten together, that you're trying to keep together something that should be, let me give you a better term that you should use, Mr. President. And I know that you don't want to use it because it's synonymous with being pro-war. But it was good advice from God to the people of Israel many eons ago, and I suggest it would be good advice to you, Mr. President. The term is quite obsolete. Not many people use it today because it's not politically correct. But it virtually means to reduce to nothing. And the Latin, annihilar, means to reduce to nothing. Mr. President, containment doesn't work with evil. God told the people of Israel to destroy their 7 enemies, to annihilate them, to eradicate them, to eliminate them from existence. In order for you and the good people of this world, especially leaders of the world like German Chancellor Merkel, who's telling her people to use values instead of guns, yeah, that'll keep them off your porch. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the utter destruction, the complete annihilation of ISIS and radical Islam. Only that will sustain an opportunity for good. You can contain water. You cannot contain evil. Evil, for our own good, must be completely and totally annihilated. When we come back, I want to talk with you about the Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution and NATO 5 and 6, and where I think we need to be going with all of this, especially since I'm making the announcement about annihilation. Yours truly, the Exceptional One, will be back right after this. Listening to the most exceptional conservative show in the world. In fact, it's so good we call it the Exceptional Conservative Show. Live from, well, not even the nation's capital. Tonight we're in Tampa, Florida. But certainly live from there, it's the Exceptional Conservative Show. I'm your host, Trevor Clinton. Let's start this off right.
Good morning, students. As promised, I am going to say the Pledge of Allegiance for you, and I'm going to say it in Spanish. I want you to remember that you may have the pledge just like this in your hands when you say the pledge to me. You do have to memorize it, but you may have this part. I want you to pay attention. I'm going to go like this because I have it first in Spanish, then in English. Alright, if you're ready, put your hands over your heart and let's say the pledge. Yo prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios entera con libertad y justicia para todos. One more time, let's do it from here. Yo prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios entera, con libertad y justicia para todos. Thank you so much. I hope that helps you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, we got the Spanish there. Okay.
I'm going to say.
For the rest of us will say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and with justice for all. God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Big show, as always, on Monday nights. None other than the great one, Lonnie Poindexter, will be joining us momentarily. We're going to talk tonight about what does my mortgage have to do with ISIS? Well, it has something big. And it maybe not necessarily directly, but there's an indirect correlation between your mortgage and ISIS. But before we get underway with that, I want to spend a little time talking with my very good friend, who is LIONCHASER extraordinaire. Without a shadow of a doubt, a man who is making his mark on the world, and especially the conservative movement in America. You know how we do this. One ringy dingy, one ringy dingy, two ringy dingy, three ringy dingy, four. Lonnie Poindexter from Urban Family Network. The LIONCHASER Show. He's the host. He's the big cheese. The player.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. Welcome. Jeff, welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Tampa, Florida. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, brother. Hope to slaying those dragons out there on the East Coast, and until I get back there in North Carolina, I'm actually doing a little globetrotting right now. I'm on the West Coast.
All right, East West. There we go. We got something going there in terms of that bonding. Sir, I want to ask you first and foremost because I love the fact that you have me on your program on Fridays at noon, and that's the only bad hour of your whole week. So thank God it's the last hour. But can you tell everyone the radio program that you have, where it presides, and exactly how people can listen to your program?
Certainly, brother. They can always catch me Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern at urbanfamilytalk.com. That's urbanfamilytalk.com. And it's a 2-hour show. It's called the LIONCHASER Show. And what we basically do is take on the liberal mindset and we slice it to pieces with the piece to be, getting the truth out about the true history of our nation and the true history of our people as, well, today there's a false narrative going about. I'm sure you know to lead the planet into something we would never intend to be.
Amen.
That's the LIONCHASER Show, urbanfamilytalk.com. We're also on 7 terrestrial radio stations across the country. So if you go to urbanfamilytalk.com and click on the links there at the menu bar, you can discover all the different radio stations that we broadcast on, as far south as Mississippi, as far north as Ohio, and as far west as the great state of Idaho.
Wow. I am always, I love when you come on the air. Without a shadow of a doubt. And I don't get a chance to say it to you enough, but I am just so very proud of you for the work that you do and what you put in to make your program not only a great program, but how you reach out amongst the very millions like me and bring us into the great network of conversation and talk. So, and spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ as well. So I'm just enamored with you, sir. Listen, I get the feeling here that refugees from the Syria are not welcome here in America. And I want to ask you, sir, is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? What's wrong with Syrian refugees, sir?
You know, actually, there's technically nothing wrong with Syrian refugees, but there's every bit of something wrong with Syrian refugees that have been infiltrated and chock full of those who are carrying an agenda to destroy America. That's part and parcel of what we saw in France. You know, the elephant in the room, my brother, is ideology and culture. You know this, strong borders, common language, and common culture produce a great nation and keep a nation strong. And when you look to take people in simply because you're doing the humanitarian thing, you're not using good common sense as to determine whether those individuals are friend or foe, well, you end up with what you have in France. Unfortunately, many people died because of the what I call the myth of multiculturalism, allowing cultures of people to come into your nation and not assimilate into your nation. Then that creates a big breeding ground for those who have a contrary worldview to your national worldview, and people end up dying.
Wow. True. Very true. But somehow, e pluribus unum doesn't mean the same thing, especially to the President of the United States, who tells us he's not interested in America winning. And that was done at the G20 summit yesterday. Today, it's almost yesterday there, Rob. But bottom line is, whose side is Obama on?
I'm not sure. Now, I go back and forth about President trying to determine if that he's just ideologically ignorant on what the real issues are, or is it part of an agenda? I can't figure out which. What about you?
I figured it out. I think he's nefarious. I think his agenda supersedes anything constitutional or anything regarding faith. There's only one answer here, and I know that I'll be, held up for what I say here, especially in the great city of Tampa. But there's only one answer, and that's a complete annihilation of ISIS. If God told Israel eons ago to eradicate its 7 foes, lest they be cursed for generations because they will not be left alone, then certainly the only answer is the annihilation of radical jihadism, radical Islamism, Mohammedanism. You got to get rid of it.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with you, and here's why. Because, I saw Madonna say we just need to love them with our whole hearts, and that'll change their hearts. That's what Madonna said. I'm inclined to agree with Madonna. She's an authority on such stuff.
Oh, we all need a holiday. We're talking a holiday for Madonna. We're talking with Lonnie Poindexter, LIONCHASER radio show. You need to have it starred on your browser so you can listen to it daily from 11 p.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. I just want to give some news, because earlier when we started our program, as I am the king of 9 p.m., I took the advice of Elizabeth Loris, Liz Loris as we love her so, who told everyone to start calling their governors, especially for certain states, California, Idaho being one of those, and help them change their minds regarding receiving Syrian refugees. I want to just give you the update. The governor of Idaho has changed his mind. The governor of Idaho has changed his mind. He will not be accepting Syrian refugees in the state of Idaho. Thank you all so much for calling. That's big news there. And also, in the meantime, New Jersey has joined, and New Hampshire have also joined. Massachusetts, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and so many others not accepting Syrian refugees. And there's some others, Iowa, and as well Missouri and Colorado. They're wavering. In Nebraska, they're wavering. No, Nebraska's already said no. So is this a good sign for the Obama administration at this juncture, sir?
I don't know if it's a good sign for him, but certainly a good sign for America, where America is showing and demonstrating that our government doesn't seem to walk in lockstep with the views of the people. And so when we make our presence known, we get these wonderful things taking place. Here's my question to you, Ken, and you maybe will know more about this than I would. Do we have legal recourse? I'm looking at some of the legal minds are posting in social media on my page, stating that we don't have legal recourse to supersede the feds and what they want to do in our state. So it's a states' rights issue. But at the end of the day, the feds went out. I don't know, what say you on that?
Well, if we had not repealed the 17th Amendment, I would say that would be erroneous. But the truth of the matter is, because the states have no representation in the U.S. Senate or in the House, literally immigration is the resolve of the U.S. Congress. And so U.S. policy regarding who comes in and who doesn't come in is left to the House of Representatives. So it's up to those guys, and this is a group you should be calling right about here, to actually pass legislation forcing the Obama administration, and knowing full well that more than half of the nation's governors have already said that they're not going to take any Syrian refugees. Literally. This is the time for the congressmen to come together and pass legislation saying that no Syrian refugee can come into our country, either unless fully vetted, on both sides of the Atlantic or Pacific, or literally none, period, can come in because of the radicalization. Also, Congress has the right to wage war, and I want to talk about that in the final quarter of my particular program. So that's also something that I want to bring up. But literally, the states right now don't have a legal right, but because half of them, in fact, over half of them now, are against taking in any Syrian refugees, it makes federal immigration policy difficult. And that's what changes things.
Amen to that. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, too, because our president, who, well, he's a statesman, and I say that very loosely, he would look to, in terms of, we back up a little bit. I was not the biggest fan of President Clinton.
Yeah.
But the one thing I liked about President Clinton is that when he read which way the wind was blowing, or read the tea leaves more correctly, he would acquiesce. Because at the end of the day, he was in the top of his president. The president that we have today, I think, is more than ideal. Not only he cares, he's going to carry out his agenda, come hell or high water. And I don't know, if you look up in the dictionary a representation for the word, or official representation for the word narcissist, you find a picture of it.
Yes! Yes!
You hear that from me.
It's a full-page ad, too, in the dictionary. This just in from Minneapolis, and you know my angst against this particular group, and in fact, I had to beat down a Black Lives Matter minister this weekend regarding public safety in Washington, D.C., because I purposely don't understand how you're wanting reform with police to interfere with actually arresting people who do a crime. I just don't understand that concept. And certainly no black person is above the law, period. And not because you were born black do you have the right not to be arrested because you did an evil crime. But apparently the protesters for Black Lives Matter, feeling their comeuppance, has shut down Interstate 94 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and as a result, hundreds of protesters were arrested tonight for doing that. And so I want to ask you, sir, first and foremost, if your child decided to walk out in the middle of 94 talking about Black Lives Matter, what would be your response?
Well, my response, I would be like that mother from Baltimore who off throwing rocks at police. If I'm paying my hard-earned money for your room to go to college and get a good education, the last thing I want you done is out on a freeway and you know what, of yourself and embarrassing our family name. So, I don't care if they're 18, 19, 20 years old, I'm looking at the off of that.
Right there! Right there! y'all gonna have to arrest me tonight too. But I'm looking at the Black Lives Matter's demands, and most of their demands are about police reform, which you can easily get through a civilian police review board if you just participate in that. But they really have no conscient concept of what they want. And when you talk with them, they talk about the indiscretions of our forefathers and slavery and abuse, and we need to fight the white man, yet white people are marching with them, and white members are leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm confused. Can you separate the scales from my eyes so I can see clearly what these people are fighting for?
Let me just name this out to it, what they're fighting for. What they're fighting for is, well, I'm not going to say this. The authorities banging on the door. So let me say this. You and I both know that all roads lead back to George Soros.
Yeah.
You and I both know that with every one of these professional protests, because that's what they are, there is a leader, there is an organizer. I found when I saw the Black Lives Matter march not too long ago in our nation's capital, And I'm observing all the young people, they got their coordinated T-shirts and all, and their sister up and so on and so forth. And I look off to the left, I see the individual with a pair of Tacos on a polo shirt. It doesn't quite fit in. Hello, the orchestrator, that's the order. They're like, but that's the money man or the money woman. So I'm like, go up now, go right, and check in the mail. For anyone listening to the show today, I know your listeners are very learned, so I'm probably saying something they're very aware of, is that all roads lead to George Soros and organizations that are funding this foolishness. These young people don't have a clue what racism is. They haven't been around long enough to see what racism is. And as you pointed out earlier, my brother, there is recourse for them. Review boards, there's a whole set of things they could do without having a fool on a college campus and cause a lot of ruckus. You know, they get cost, with the University of Missouri cost themselves with a top football prospect because they got meant to win because that's not already. Kudos to them young men.
There you go.
Black lives matter.
I'm gonna tell you, if he wasn't one of your top 5 picks, you should pick him up because he would be probably the smartest player on your team. Okay, just said Stanford should pick this guy up because that was brilliant. I am not going to play at Missouri with all that foolishness going on. Utah, Salt Lake City, you were there a couple weeks ago for the World Families Congress, I believe.
Yes, that's a great event. Between 3,000 and 4,000 people in attendance, 53 nations were represented.
Well, apparently your influence was so great that it caused a Utah judge to decide that a child should not be with a lesbian couple. This is picking back up.
I'm sure I can give credit for that. I would like to say I have that much juice nationally.
Because I want to pick up, and this is why people need to listen to your show, because on Friday we were talking about some of the modernization that's taking place in Salt Lake City, and apparently 7th District Juvenile Judge Scott Johnson disqualified himself from the case and referred it to the court's presiding judge, Mary Manley, according to the court order published. The court order had been that the child, in this particular case, would be taken from the lesbian parents because he did not believe that the child was in a good condition or good shape as a result of the psychological and environmental effects of having a lesbian couple raise the baby. Well, apparently, they're having some second thoughts. And thanks to the gay rights organization Equality Utah, they've been forced, or at least this judge has been forced to step off this case, and it looks like a more liberal-leaning judge will take the helm and allow the lesbian couple to maintain their parenthood, even though if you would go to Europe, Sweden, and study the studies they've had on homosexual couples raising children, it doesn't look very good. So I want to ask you, sir, is this again the power of the lesbian mafia, the homosexual agenda? Is this that?
Well, you know, I was encouraged to see that judge take that stand.
Yeah.
And I think that if we get other judges to do that, we could begin to build some momentum. I don't see some of that blow down in Houston where, you know, you have the daycare workers that were fired from their job because the homosexual couple, 2 men in this particular case, who decided to let their 6-year-old child choose whether they wanted to be a boy or a girl, and then they got upset because of daycare workers. But I'm not calling that little girl boy. She's a girl when she came here. It's obvious she's a girl, and now you want to call her because she's a boy. Because you cut her hair. I'm not with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll wait into the very conservative locale. I mean, some of them won't be very conservative people. I was looking at the whole that they're going to do that. We know we're going to get the pushback from the radical homosexual community. But you know, that same city, that same state in Salt Lake, elected a lesbian mayor. That shocked me to death.
Yes.
I could not believe that. You heard about that?
Yes, and we were talking about that on Friday on your program, and you know I'm a little bit more strict on that than a lot of people, and I really believe that if you vote in someone who is, I mean, and we all fall down. I'm not putting one person above anyone else, but when the term abomination is used to describe that, and that term is used by God Himself. And you put this person to be your representative before God and man, and jurisprudence and in legal effect for your citizenry, you're kind of slapping God in the face. I just believe that, and maybe I'm just a little too strict on that one, but I just believe you're really just holding off and just slapping God and daring Him to come back at you. And clearly, there is a modernization of thought here along the lines of what the Grecians would have thought, because certainly the Romans would never have done this. But the Grecians would think that, hey, you live and you let live, and it's okay. Little boys that need to be with older men, and little girls need to be on an island in Lesbos. But we create offensive and needless battles by electing individuals like that. Houston being a great example, where you have to have pastors spending millions of dollars trying to fight off a Houston mayor who wants boys and girls and men and women to use the same bathroom. I mean, clearly. It just doesn't make sense.
What gets me the faith-based community would seem to be walking in lockstep with this agenda in some capacity. Their ignorance, I'm assuming it's their ignorance. I mean, I know enough. I would call myself a theologian, but I know enough about the Bible that God has some specific things to say about this particular practice and activity, and He did some specific things in the history of the Bible. You mentioned Rome. Rome is, when you got there, an implosion of Rome due to immorality. The ruins that you see today that you go and we all get to go through and all, we haven't been taking that part of the world. We have to understand that it looks that way for a reason. Same thing happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. I just got so upset with Sodom and Gomorrah, you can't even find it on a map. So I think that here, because no two stones stacked on one another to give us a little bit of reference point, we do believe it's here. And so historically, God has always dealt with immorality. He gives a season for it when you got enough of it, and He did use eternal abomination. So for Christian football, Brother Lonnie, you have to understand sin is sin. Okay, so for someone stealing a package of bread from a bakery is the same as someone blowing somebody's brains out in a robbery.
Sure it is. It's right up there, man.
Come on.
It's right up there, man. Right up there. Listen, finally, because you're as much a Washingtonian today as the illegal aliens who come across the border are. But you know that Washington, D.C. is a human rights city, virtually sanctuary city. Everything goes. They're trying to make 16-year-olds vote now because they run out of common sense people who refuse to be a part of the Politburo. But they have decided now to clear out homeless tent city in Rock Creek Park. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, isn't this the same city that said that anybody can live anywhere they want, whenever they want to, that they need to find housing, that the city would provide it? Is this the same liberal city? Or is this a bigger picture of gentrification?
Well, I think that they got the same issue with the city of Santa Monica had on the left coast, who had the same type of ideology and mindset. It's liberal central there. And they were all cool with all the homeless people coming there and hanging out on the promenade and everything else, up until it started affecting their property there.
There you go!
Then it became a state needs to do something. The county needs to do something about these homeless people. At the end of the game, I got all the time. Follow the money, son.
Follow the money! You know, it's funny. how you can turn those shirts inside out and go back down to City Hall. I was never for it. I was always against it. Lonnie Poindexter, one of America's great pioneers in urban conservative talk and faith conservative talk. Lonnie, tell them where they can listen to your show, especially tomorrow.
Well, my brother, it's always a pleasure coming on your show. And for your listeners out there, if you got nothing to do in the late mornings, East Coast time, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., you can catch my show, The LIONCHASER Show, on urbanfamilytalk.com. That's urbanfamilytalk.com. And we've got a chat room there as well, and there's great commentary going on in the chat room. I look to feature heavyweights and radio broadcasting on my show on a regular basis. That's why the exceptional one comes on Fridays at noon. But you can also catch me on terrestrial radio. If you go to the website and look and find the locales, and I say we're as far south as Mississippi, we're up to Georgia, we get up to Ohio, Michigan, and then as far west we have stations going as far west as in Idaho. So you can catch it. We've got everything from truckers to pastors to business people, everyone calling in, even good old fashioned moms as well. Great show. Thank you so much, brother, for letting me come on.
Thank you. God bless you, Lonnie. We love you. Lonnie Poindexter. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. Well, actually, Tampa tonight. And for the rest of this week. But when we come back, it will be a no commercial expressway to commentary. We will talk about where do we go from here in America, and how do we get rid of this guy who calls himself the Commander-in-Chief of global warming.
It's gonna be a right swipe. This man has shaped his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe. Right swipe. That kind of looks like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten.
Oh my God, I want to eat their faces.
She's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, if you're gone in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe, bye-bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yes.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag complex. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Home 9, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. Hottie, I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, if you're gone in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe, bye-bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yes.
You gotta swipe it
Left swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all pensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10s to 20s. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with the tiger.
Let's swipe that.
While you're on a hang glider.
Let's swipe that. Smoking while acting healthy. Let's swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy.
Swipe that. Smoking with a duck face. Let's swipe that.
At a monster truck race.
Let's swipe that. Smoking at the prom. Let's swipe that.
Even in a photo bomb.
He don't care. Let's swipe that.
gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Let's
left.
swipe that.
Gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
remember you.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm walking through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage, and we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and green. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as the mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Fish is ready and our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused meat burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA brown chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, grilled to perfection.
Yes!
After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on next to the meat next a little bit.
Cook it on in there, man. Cook it on there.
We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, and I'm not just saying this because I like Infused Restaurant. To be honest, I get no revenue from any of this, none whatsoever. I really believe in Infused Restaurant. I believe in Derek Williams. I believe in Chef Arnold. I believe in what they produce, and they produce great food.
Today, she's sitting in the back of the class.
All right, thank you.
Looking at things from a different perspective.
Thank you. All right, here we go. Thank you very much. She's in the back of the classroom. Yeah, all right, great. She should be in the front of the classroom so that she would get infused food. I tell you, 301-449-9000, 301-449-9000, infuse.com, infuse.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to announce that Iowa, Governor Branston has announced this evening that Iowa will not allow Syrian refugees to come. So I want you all to know that more than half at this particular juncture, and the numbers are coming in so fast, we might be at the point of nearly 60% of the country says you cannot put Syrian refugees in our state. Now, California is still there on California, what they're going to do. California will always do
every American. Why are we lifting the oil export?
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line is you have Oregon, you have California, you have a lot of liberal, Vermont, you have a lot of liberal states still that don't understand that a terrorist activity in your state affects all of us. Now, when we were talking about Ebola, I was one who said you need to close down the borders. I was sincere. Okay? And that the remedy could be found in the wonderful countries of Africa, and many other remedies could have been found there if certain things were done. What it revealed really is that third world nations, no matter how effectual the support has been from communist nations like Russia and China, and NGOs and despots from the UN, they have not advanced because they don't have the principles necessary to advance. They are still Black Lives Mattering over there, hoping that the racial tide would answer the question. It's not about race. To be earnest with you, there are 4 things that you need in order to have a great nation. You ready to hear what they are? 4 things that you need. 4 things that you need. Here they are. Number 1, you need Christ. And I'm not talking about nice guy, good teacher. I'm talking about the Messiah, the anointed one. You need Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Jesus Christ is the answer. Number 2, you need a conservative viewpoint. A conservative viewpoint. You need capitalism. Because capitalism lifts everyone out of poverty. Anyone who applies the principles of capitalism will be lifted out of poverty. And then the last thing that you need is a constitution built upon the framework of Judeo-Christian values and beliefs. If you have those 4 things, I guarantee you, you will be a great nation. If you don't have any one of those 4 things, you will struggle. Tried to express that to a lot of people, but they are so content to believe that everything is against them. Obama shares that philosophy of everything is against us. Everything. If we would just get rid of America and Israel, we would be a great nation. Nation of what? Backwards third world principles and values beholden to whoever holds the iron fist that's rusted away with corruption. Did you all know that America is slowly becoming one of the most corrupt nations on the face of the earth? And why does a nation become corrupt? It becomes corrupt because from within people believe that they do not have an opportunity or a chance. And then there are those who will segue that belief, that value system, to protest and then create chaos in the land, hoping that the appeal of redistribution will land upon the ears of those who feel guilty and ashamed for being blessed in the first place. Why does Barack Obama use the term ISIL? Why? Well, we clearly know that ISIS is the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Remember, it was Barack Obama who drew that line in the sand and said that if anyone crossed it, we should all attack Syria, and there was nothing but crickets. Remember that? It has also been rumored, and some have presented documents to the fact that, yeah, this administration helped build ISIS in the first place to fight against Prime Minister al-Assad. And part of that was because of the helpful support of a senator from Arizona named John McCain, who seemed to know all the players of who could possibly save Syria from the dogma and doctrine of al-Assad. Well, al-Assad is still in power and even has the Russians blowing away his enemies. And now ISIS is blowing away our allies. So why does he choose the Islamic State in Iraq and Levant rather than the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria? Well, Levant, according to Chuck Todd, forgive me, he wants to impress upon people the identity of ISIS is not only Syria, but also the Mediterranean areas or countries. He wants to focus on the territory, and thus if we focus on the territory, then people will be more willing to fight. Can I tell you that I think that that is a very nefarious and deceptive thinking. Let me give you the background, especially for those who are following along at home, who wanted to tune in tonight and find out how is their mortgage like ISIS. Well, let's take a look, first and foremost, at Levant. Levant is a name applied to the geographical region defined by natural frontiers encompassing the eastern shores of the Mediterranean Sea, from roughly the Isthmus of Suez to the Taurus Mountains. So virtually from Turkey to Egypt. That's virtually what we're looking at. The land between Turkey and Egypt. Now, some of you are saying, well, that would be Jordan and that would be Lebanon. But it also would include something known as Israel. And the truth of the matter is, it may be the way he thinks of Israel. Let's give you a little background behind that. As a general rule, understanding the archaeology, history, and geopolitics of the region require mastery of the Levantine geographical context. Until the time of the Israelite conquest under Joshua, the southern part of the Levant, often called Palestine, was known as the land of Canaan. The Hebrew scriptures refer to the people occupying the land as the Canaanites. With the conquest, it became, along with other conquered territories, the land of Israel. Israel. From Dan to Beersheba. The way of describing Palestine, and for most periods the limits of settlement, is about 150 miles. After 132 AD or CE 132, the Romans renamed the region Palestina. Aware of Jewish history, the Romans chose to name the land after Israel's most bitter enemy, the Philistines. Remember the giant slayer, David? Remember the giant Philistine, Goliath? Well, the Romans named it after the Philistines to humiliate their vanquished Jewish subjects. Now, this is an assault, an insult against the Jewish people to refer to the place as Palestine. I want you to understand what I just said. If you didn't get it, let me read it to you again. There are no Palestinians. There are no Palestinians. There are those who have co-opted the Palestinian history in order to destroy Israel, modern day Israel. So let me read to you. The Romans chose to name the land after Israel's most bitter enemy, the Philistines, and they did that to humiliate the vanquished Jewish subjects. The Romans made the point, after Jewish zealots rebelled twice against Roman authority, that the region was the Levant, the light-shaded area, no longer Israel, but rather Roman turf. The word Palestine comes from the Latin Palestina, meaning land of the Philistines. Land of the Philistines. So when Obama speaks of Levant, he's not considering Israel. He is considering Palestine. Israel does not exist. It is a conquered foe. So when he says ISIL, he's referring to the non-existence of Israel. Yes, he is nefarious in this regard. And there are those who are following along in the press, not realizing that it is his intent not to help Israel, but to watch it pass away as the Romans watched Israel pass away. If you wanted to know exactly what his strategy was, this was taken back in 2014 by Devin Dwyer, part of World News, ABC World News, and he jotted down 4 specific things that basically outline the ISIS strategy. You know, the containment thing. We want to contain them. Number 1, airstrikes. Expand U.S. airstrikes, jets, and drones. There you go. So they've been firing away since at least 2013 in Syria, and ISIS still grows. Still strong. Hoping that Levant comes to pass. The other part, this is number 2 of that, targeting Syria's safe havens. Well, they've been at this for 3 years under the Obama administration in Syria, and you would think that all the safe havens were gone, but France endured something critical on Friday, and today they were destroying safe havens in Syria. Wait a minute. We've been there for 3 years bombing, and there are safe havens left. There are no troops, no U.S. troops in combat. That's what we are told. There are no U.S. troops. Although at the time of the writing there were at least 1,000 U.S. troops on the ground in Iraq, near the border of Syria, and more have been aided in this particular process since that time period. In fact, that was a recent notice to the fact that we are sending specialists, special advisors there. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And then finally, an international coalition. That's right. President Obama has demonstrated that any military campaign will be led by the U.S. but involve a host of allies that bring different resources to the table. Wow. Why not have an ally who is fired up, ready to go? Fired up and ready to go to blow away and annihilate ISIS. Why not have them on your team, part of your international coalition? Oh, but you're not in it for the winning. You're in it for the containment. Kind of like the Incredible Hulk being contained by Stark Industries equipment. Not going to happen. ISIS grows stronger. So on 4 points, his 4-point ISIS plan and strategy, he has failed on every single point. Now, why does that matter to you? Because I want to read to you Article 5 of the NATO Treaty, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, NATO. Article 5 says the parties agree that an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all, and consequently they agree that if such an armed attack occurs, each of them, in exercise of the right of individual or collective self-defense, recognized by Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations, will assist the party or parties so attacked by taking forward individually and in concert with the other parties such action as deemed necessary, including the use of armed force to restore and maintain the security of the North Atlantic area. Any such armed attack and all measures taken as a result thereof shall immediately be reported to the Security Council. There was no Security Council meeting under the Obama regime. Such measures shall be terminated when the Security Council has taken the measures necessary to restore and maintain international peace and security. Here's Article 6 of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. Article 6 says, for the purpose of Article 5, an armed attack of one or more of the parties is deemed to include an armed attack on the territory of any of the parties in Europe or North America, on the Algerian Department of France, on the occupation forces of any party in Europe, on the islands under the jurisdiction of any parties in the North Atlantic area, north of the Tropic of Cancer, or on the vessels or aircraft in this area, or any of the parties. Ladies and gentlemen, Barack Hussein Obama at this moment should have told NATO that it is time to go to war. President Hollande of France said it is time to go to war. He declared war on ISIS. Barack Obama said he was not interested in America winning. He was not interested in America leading. Then why not NATO? Because he's not interested in NATO either. He's interested in the Muslim Brotherhood and containing, bringing together ISIS. He's nefarious, not delusional. Nefarious. Nefarious comes from the term fame. Fame means someone who preaches something. He preaches an ideology, a foreign ideology, which is built on involving himself in the most prescient threat to all mankind, global warming. While 130 people die in stadiums and concert halls and other sites throughout Paris, while Washington is aghast and watching for attacks, while London is watching for attacks, while New York is watching for attacks. This president can't concern himself with America winning. You see, he's worried about whether the hockey stick stat will correct itself on its own. This is what I recommend highly tonight as I go to close. And I encourage you all to join Bruce Babin, who is a representative from the great Republic of Texas, the great state of Texas, of which I am an honorary citizen thanks to Brian Glover. I want you all to understand that Congress, not the President of the United States, Congress under the U.S. Constitution, which is Section 8 out of Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, Congress has the right to declare war. And in fact, not only do they have the power to declare war, but to grant letters of marque and reprisal and make rules concerning captures on land and water. They have the authority. Your congressman has the authority to force Obama, to force NATO to retaliate against ISIS around the world. Has it ever been done before? Yes, it has. After 9/11, well, not Congress forcing the president, because actually George Bush went to the Congress and asked for authorization to destroy Al-Qaeda. But NATO came together 24 hours after 9/11 and said on September 12th, we will destroy any person who was involved in destroying the Twin Towers. 24 hours after President Hollande and the French people experienced the greatest trial and tragedy that they've faced since World War II, President Obama was more concerned about the hockey stick stat for global warming than he was for declaring war on ISIS. America, we are in trouble because we have a commander-in-chief who doesn't understand that the greatest threat is not global warming, but the greatest threat is anyone who is willing to destroy Israel, any person who is willing to destroy the lifestyles of our allies, anyone who is willing to take in a refugee, who is willing to domestically destroy your nation. The greatest threat to America isn't global warming. The greatest threat to America happens to be a young man who lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Congress, declare war. Make him work. Someone told me once to live bravely so you will not die a coward. I promise you I will. Until the last breath. As for you and I tonight, God blessed America. Now it's time for America to bless God. We'll see you tomorrow night.